Hi, fourth graders. We are back together today in math, working on lesson 13-6. Today we're going to focus on practicing these situations again using the homework problems. So before we do anything else, I want to remind you of the formulas that you are going to need. The formula for perimeter is length plus width equals the perimeter. The formula for area is length times width gives us the area. So, just like yesterday, you're going to follow these 4 steps when you're solving a problem. Write the formula first. Choose the formula that is going to work with the information that you've been given. Second, plug in the information or fill in the information that you know into that formula. Third, use that formula to help you solve, remembering you're probably going to have to use inverse operations, the opposite operations. And then last, once you have your final answer, make sure you label it. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these together. You're going to notice I have grid paper ready to go. You absolutely need scrap paper to do this work. There is not enough room in your math book. So if you need to, go get scrap paper, pause the video, find some scrap paper, and then come back and hit play once you're ready. When you are ready, in your math book, find the homework page that goes with today's lesson. Okay, so we are looking at page 713. Now I'm noticing a quick little issue in my notebook file. My grid paper is not where I want it, so please be patient with me as I try and move my grid paper. Okay, so now, all right, now we're good to go. Thank you for being patient with me as we were doing that. Okay, so page 713, we're going to look at some of these together, and then we're going to ask you to try some on your own. Okay, so looking at number 1, we're being asked to find n. Well, let's think about what do we know. We know the length here on this side is 2 feet. We also have been given the area of 28 square feet. So let's think here. What formula is going to be the most helpful? Well, we've been given the area. So let's use the area formula. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my scrap paper. I'm labeling this as problem 1. Since we were given the area, we're going to use the area formula. Okay, so we know area equals length times width. That's the formula. And remember, I'm using a cursive L so that way I don't get the letter L confused with the number 1. Okay, so step 1, write the formula. Chose the formula based on the information that we were given. All right, step 1 is done. Step 2, fill in the information that we know. Well, we know in problem number 1, the area. The area is 28 square feet. Okay, so for area, we know that it's 28. Okay, so fill that in. What else do we know? We also know the length of this side. We know it's 2 feet. So in our equation, we know the length is 2 feet. What we don't know is the width, but the math book isn't calling that the width. They're calling it letter N. So let me put that in there. Okay, so now we filled in the information that we have. So let's think, how can we use this formula to help us solve? Well, to figure out this missing number, we have to use the inverse operation. The opposite operation of multiplication is division. So the way that we're really going to solve this is to solve 28 divided by 2. Okay, grab a calculator. Okay, you could sit and skip count by 2s and figure out what that is, but that's going to take you a long time. My advice is to grab a calculator and in your calculator, type in 28 divided by 2. If you're using a calculator, you will discover that you get 14. Well, guys, that's the quantity for n. Oh, that is a messy one. Let's fix that. Come on, eraser. All right, let's try and redo that. Okay, so n is 14 because 28 divided by 2 gave us 14. That's the missing quantity for n. Okay, so come back to the math book at number 1. We now know n equals 14. But don't forget step 4, we have to label. Okay, now guys, we're not telling the area. We're telling the width of this side. So we don't have to put square because we're just telling the width. We're just going to use the unit label of feet. Okay, let's try one more together. Okay, number 4. And here's why we're doing number 4 together. Did you notice there's a fraction thrown in there? Okay, we didn't really practice that yesterday. So let's look at number 4 together. Okay, find n. So again, we're being asked to find the measure of this top side. Then find the area. Ooh, whoa, they're asking us to find 2 things. All right, don't panic. We can do this. We know the perimeter is equal to 60 and 2/4 inches. We know this side is 12 and 1/4 inches. Well, if this side is 12 and 1/4 inches, we know this side is also 12 and 1/4 inches. Okay, step 1, choosing getting ahead of myself, choosing a formula. Well, we've already been told the perimeter, so the formula that we're going to use is the perimeter formula. Okay, so let's come to our grid paper. Let's make a space for number 4. Okay, and we said we're going to use the perimeter formula. So perimeter equals length plus width plus width. Okay, step 1, choose the formula that's going to be the most helpful. Step 2, plug in or fill in the information that you know. So what do we know? Well, in problem number 4, we know the perimeter is 60 and 2/4 inches. So let's fill that in. Perimeter is 60 and 2/4 inches. What else do we know? We also know the length of these 2 sides. They're both 12 and 1/4 inches. Okay, so we know the length is 12 and 1/4 inches. So this length is 12 and 1/4, and this length is 12 and 1/4. What we don't know is the length of these sides, and that is n. Okay, now, your calculators at home are not going to function well with the fractions. They're not the fancy calculators that we have in school, but we can figure this out, okay? Just follow with me. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to subtract, because remember, we can use the inverse operation. So if you think about this, we have 2/4 here. Take away 1/4 and another fourth. Well, wait a second. We have 2/4 and we're taking away 2/4. So 60 and 2/4 take away 2/4 is going to leave us with 60. So guys, we have now dealt with the fractions. So now let's just deal with the whole numbers. 60, take away one of the 12s. And yes, you can use your calculator. Then take away the other 12. And we're left with 36. So here's what that means. Both of these sides, when you put them together, equal 36. We have to take 36 and divide it evenly into these 2 sides. So the way that we do that is we take 36 and we divide it into the 2 sides. So grab your calculator, type in 36 divided by 2. You will find that you get 18. So what that means is this side is 18 and this side is 18. So let's go back to number 4 and fill in what we know. We now know n equals 18 inches. So here's what that means. This side along the top is 18. This side is 18. Okay? Now, in number 4, it's asking you to then find the area. Now, if we were in school with our fancy calculators, this would be much easier, okay? To find the area here, I'm going to consider that a bonus opportunity, okay? Here's how you would do it. Come back to your grid paper, okay? And we're being asked to find the area. So let's use the area formula, okay? Once you have the area formula written down, fill in the missing pieces of information. So, in problem number 4, we know the length, we know the length and we know the width. Okay, so I'm going to fill that in to my formula. I know the length is 12 and 1/4. I know the width is 18, and I'm going to multiply the two of them. Now, we have done work with multiplication of fractions, but here's why this is bonus. This is pretty crazy, okay? So, we're going to solve 18 times 12 and 1/4. So, here's how we do that, okay? We have to break it into two separate equations. So, remember, we're going to take 18 times 12 as our whole number. And then we're also going to take 18 times 1/4. Okay, so 18 times 12, go ahead and use your calculator. 18 times 12, type it in, we get 216. Okay, now your calculator, because at home you probably don't have one of the fancy ones that we do at school, is not going to be able to help you figure this one out. But remember how to multiply a whole number times a fraction. You put everything in the numerator, and then you multiply, and we get 18/4. Well, it's an improper fraction, so think about what you need to do. We need to decompose it, okay? So 4/4 is one whole. Another 4/4 is another whole. So far I've used 8 of them. Another 4/4, that's 12. Another 4/4, that's 16. I can't use another 4/4 because that's more than 18. So I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18. So that leaves me with 2/4. Okay, so now we combine 216 with everything that we have down here. So that's 216 plus one more, and one more, and one more, and one more, and then 2/4. So 216, one more makes 217, 218, 219, 220, and 2/4. So we just figured out the area is equal to 220 and 2/4. Whew, that was crazy. Notice how all of the things that we've been learning in math are slowly coming back to haunt us. In this situation, it was multiplying whole numbers times a fraction. Okay, so that's what we're going to practice together. What we'd like you to try on your own is number 2, number 3. On the next page, try number 8, number 9, and number 11. Remember, if you need help, take advantage of your teacher's office hours or leave a comment in the math assignment so that way your teacher knows that you're really stuck and you need help. Just remember the steps. Write the formula, plug in the information that you know, use that to help you solve, and make sure you label your answer. You can do this, 4th grade. You've got this.